Hello and welcome into the Pioneer Basketball Show. I'm Brian State, and as the Tusculum Pioneers, in the last 3 games, have played 3 of the top elite teams in the South Atlantic Conference: Carson Newman, Wingate, and Newberry. LMU and Catawba still to come this week. Hello everyone, I'm Brian State, joined by Pioneer coach Devan Carter. A Pioneer week that was always going to be tough because of a canceled game that was remade for Martin Luther King Day on Monday in the afternoon, and a week that began with Carson Newman. But where we're going to start is Wingate. And I think if you felt like you can get through this gauntlet, you'd be one of those elite teams. However, it's tough to do that when you're battling some injuries and some illness and the way things go, and it's very similar from last year. A Wingate game that I find very interesting the way you talked about it. We blew 2 assignments.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to that, when you talk about it that way, those can be very costly in a game.
Yeah. For our team right now, our margin of error is very small. And I felt like we displayed all the qualities of a really good basketball team. And what I mean by that is you battle through adversity. We battled through a lot of challenges in that game. We battled through foul trouble. We battled through illness. We had to adjust the style in which we play for the first time all year. Not necessarily because I felt like we couldn't do it, but because of just bodies. Mm-hmm. You want to protect your kids as far as their conditioning and stuff like that. And, playing 5 kids 40 minutes ain't it. So we had to change kind of the way that we played. And then all of a sudden you find yourself down in a hole. You battle back in that game. You take the lead late. But credit to Wingate, when you make a mistake, really good teams make you pay. And one blown assignment in the corner, and felt like that was a dagger in the ball game. But credit to them, because a couple times we've gone throughout the year and we've played teams, Division I teams, you name it. We may make that mistake and we don't pay for it. Wingate, Carson Newman, those elite teams, they make you pay.
It was interesting, too. Wingate doesn't put a lot of pressure on you. They came out with the press. They put some pressure on me. But I found it interesting, there were 24 combined turnovers in the game. You had 11. They only had 13, which is something, because It's the first time that an opponent has taken care of the ball against your press.
Yeah.
But you had to kind of rescind that press just a little bit because of the bodies.
Yeah, not having Lovely Locklear, and then obviously with all the other injuries that we have, going into that game, we really had we had 8 kids dressed, we had 7 available. It's tough. Going on the road, impressing for 40 with 7 kids ain't the plan. We tried that one year and won 6 games. So, the thing about it is that we had some kids that really had to move into different spots and adjust to roles, and I felt like they did a great job, especially in that fourth quarter. We were able to make our run to take the lead. We had kids playing in positions that they hadn't played in all year with 1 day of prep. So that was kind of good to see them adjust on the fly, because later on in the year there are going to be situations where you'll have to do that.
Well, keep in mind, Wingate, a good ball handling team as well. Mia Long still had her 6 steals in the contest, have been playing phenomenal. But Kendrea Duke, we saw that presence from her, and I'm sitting there going, that's the Kendrea Duke that thought we were going to get all the time. 19 points, 1 shy of her career best, but 17 rebounds, very dominant in the post. We're not a team that out-rebounds a lot of people, but in that fourth quarter, she was determined not to lose in a way, had that don't lose attitude, and it just didn't work out, obviously, but she played extremely well.
Played extremely well. That's the Kendrea Duke that really I expect. And the thing is that Bobby Knight has a quote that mental is the physical is 4 is the 1 in basketball. And it's so true. When she comes out and she's confident, she's shown herself to be one of the best post players in the league. Just her ability to seal her man, her ability to duck in and finish around the basket, are things that she's still working on, but she seals better than any big I've ever had. And so she puts pressure on the paint. 17 rebounds against a team like Wingate, one of the top rebounding teams in the country, is just impressive. And so was really proud of her effort and how she was able to really lead that charge for us in the fourth quarter.
Wingate gets the win, 73-67, a game that Tusculum had the lead after falling down by 11 in the game, had the lead in that fourth quarter, couldn't hang on to it, tied it late once again, and Wingate hits a big three in the corner late in that contest. The Pioneers fall in that game 11-4. Wingate goes to 12-4. And again, that's the middle game of this three-game stretch. Let's go back and start the first game of this three-game stretch, and it's Carson Newman coming in. They're down some personnel. We were down some personnel as well. The one thing we do know, they have the Marisite twins. They also have Harris Price, I think, proved to me in the game to be an elite guard. She was always that way. Even though she was hurt, she was the best player on the floor at times for Carson Newman and me along that comparison. Two very good players going at each other. Yeah. I think Harris has ascended to one of the best players in our league just because she has that freedom now, right. I think, in a way, if you look at it that way, to do that. But neither team got off to the start that I think they wanted to in the game.
If you would ask if we would have only given up 27 points, or Carson Newman had 27 points and we had 29, probably would have took the over on that. You know, just a ball game where I felt like we were really locked in defensively. You know, but at the end of the day, you go against a really good team. They're going to make things difficult for you as well. And felt like we missed a lot of open shots. Felt like we missed some shots around the paint. And credit to them. They did a good job defensively. So it was a big defensive struggle in the first half. And I think if you ask Coach Mincy if he wants to play that way, he'll tell you absolutely not, and I don't either. And 27 points and a half, that ain't it.
Let's take a look at the highlights. There were some really good highlights in this game. But again, the pace, the atmosphere, the people that had come in to see it. Again, we you know, both teams really come out, started hitting, but at the end of the first quarter, it was just 14-12 Carson Newman. The game started with some technicals. Our light on the backboard didn't work. It just doesn't, you know, it doesn't leave you with a good taste in your mouth to start the basketball game.
Yeah. You know, I know that's, you know, you don't blame anybody for that. Things happen. Technical difficulties happen. But when you're playing one of the top teams in the country, getting down 2-0, giving them two free ones, giving Harris Price 2 looks at the bucket and see 2 switches going in, probably doesn't sit well. But, you know, at the same time,
it's a good start.
It's a good start for him.
Yeah.
That was a good start for him. Gave him a little head start. And, you know, I was thinking to myself later that night, you know, coming down the stretch with a minute to go, it changes the entire complexity of a game. Callie Patterson's 3 now all of a sudden makes it a tie ball game. You know, the she knocked down makes it a tie ball game. So, you know, some things that, hey, just don't go your way sometimes. But at the end of the day, we still had our opportunities. That light didn't make us go under on 2 ball screens that Marisite's knocked down. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we still had our chances and just didn't take advantage.
You know, here, just nip and tuck. I love the intensity. A couple of blocks defensively by Jazz Williams that went back-to-back here on these possessions. You're battling, you have the lead, and you're making big shots when you're open. Jayla Arnwine, we're going to talk a little bit more about here coming up in just a moment. Had a big game also on Monday of this week. But your defense right now that, again, with some of the light personnel that you have, is leading to some good offensive play.
Yeah, and that's the thing is defensively, we just try to make things really difficult. We try to contest everything. We try to make sure that, you know, our opponent doesn't have anything wide open. You know, we want to just contest everything, contest every pass, contest every shot. And it's not necessarily denying or fully taking away. We just want to make you work for it. So our kids are really defending at an elite level. You know, I don't think that anybody has held Carson Newman to 27 and a half just because they're so dynamic and explosive. And our kids were locked into it, and they did a great job of the scouting report. And it showed.
I think we saw all 21 made shots in that first half combined.
Yeah.
Tusculum shoots 11 for 30. Carson goes 10 for 40. Second half becomes a little bit of a different story, but again, the leads are never more than 6 or 7. One team would get a lead, then the other team would come and battle back. Carson Newman led late by 9. You're going to build an 8-point lead here in the third, and I think there's a lot to talk about there. So you're building that third quarter lead, but there's Harris Price, and I think she's able to just kind of carry them back into it, even though she left this game late. Just her ability to knock down an open shot.
Man, open, contested, she knocked them all down. And, you know, some things are just better offense than defense. And, you know, you see that 3 right there. You know, Weichel's a shooter. We get under on that, don't switch up. And when you're going against a really good ball club, those things come back to bite you. You know, credit to our kids, though, you know, being able to build that lead and then obviously getting down and then coming back and really attacking them as well was big for our kids. The thing that they realize is they're never out of a ball game. And so, you know, I was really impressed with how we fought back. You know, I think this week in particular is a huge learning week for our kids because now all of a sudden they realize, like, you can play with anybody, not just in our league, but in the country. And so, you know, obviously not the outcomes that we want, but I think those 2 games really prepared us for Newberry because they realize that to be elite, you have to prepare to be elite. And what I mean by that is we give our kids everything they need to be successful in games, more so than we ever have, whether it's scouting reports, diagramming plays, personnel, you name it. We give them the whole shebang, usually a packet of 25, 30 pages. And, you know, I felt like sometimes you look at it, you're like, man, this is a lot. So instead of studying for the test, I'm going to skim through it. But, you know, at the same time, I think that they understood after those 2 ball games, hey, we made some mistakes, but we made 2 crucial mistakes, and it cost us the ball game. They were so close, and I think it set us up for Newberry.
Right. Yeah, it's a team for the Pioneers. You shoot 42% for the game. You get a 3 that's going to put this game to within 3 by Callie Patterson. Only 6 3-pointers made in the contest for this Pioneer team. As you saw Kayla Marisite, when she hit back-to-back 3-pointers, then Brianna Smith comes down and hit a 3. I think those are the things you're talking about. Those are the things that instead of going over the top, we come under and cut under, and it gives them those open looks, and that sparked a 7-0 run, which gave them ultimately the lead. And we're talking about small things in a game that's determining the outcome of the game.
Yeah, and in really big games, you know, small things are the determining factor.
Right.
You must have been in my locker room this week because it's what we've talked about and harped on the entire time is that little things make big things happen. And you know, you can press a team, you can turn a team over, you can get steals, you can finish at the rim, but at the end of the day, the game comes down to getting stops in the half court. And I think that's the difference in our team this year defensively than last year. Last year, we were a really good pressing team and a really bad half court defensive team. This year, I think we're a better pressing team and we're a better half court team and defensively. So, you know, when you're going against those elite teams, you know, when you're playing teams that are, you know, 2 and whatever or 3 and whatever, they're not going to make you pay.
Right.
That's why they're in the situation they're in, you know. But when you're playing Carson Newman, who's coming off an Elite 8, when you're playing Wingate had so many banners in their women's basketball in their gym the other day. When I was looking at it, I was like, Jesus Christ, you're playing teams that are traditionally good. They're going to make you pay.
Yeah.
And so our kids realize that because, you know, our program, I think we're on the verge of getting back to that status. So eye-opener for our kids for sure.
Pioneers fall to Carson Newman. They fall to Wingate. So those were the first 2 games of the week. And you come into a Monday game, a snow-out game from earlier in the year to take on a Newberry Wolves team that's been in East Tennessee all weekend. You're going to play them at 2 o'clock, so somewhat of an interesting turnaround. You had some kids out with illness on Saturday, and you were hoping that you were going to be able to get them back, and some of them did come back, so we did have the availability for Lovely Locklear in the game. But it's a Newberry team that started the year at 8-0, 11-1, still ranked in the nation, still a team that is one of the elite of the South Atlantic Conference, although they come in not shooting as well. So they've dropped 4 consecutive basketball games coming into the – 3 consecutive basketball games coming into the game, but still 2 of the most dangerous players. I liked the thing that you said before the game, who would you take in the league? And everybody was unanimous. We take Meg Essex.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal player, and those 2 were coming to town.
For sure. We was in Louisville, Kentucky, and we were recruiting, and it was just a bunch of coaches from our league. We were all sitting together. We had some downtime, and we asked what's one player you take, in the league. And, everybody is like, I take such and such for my team. And, but if I had it my way, is Meg Essex. And because Essex is one of those kids that, she's like a unicorn. She's tall. She's athletic. She's versatile. She can step out and shoot the basketball. She made a 3 last night. It was nothing but net, catching the ball, facing fadeaway jump shots, and finishing around the rim, great touch around the rim. And so, National Player of the Week this year, first time, I guess, in SAC history for a player. And you think about the players that have come through our league, so that's just a testament to what she does and who she is. And, then also you got Shelby Britton, who's just like a little fire engine. She's just running around, never gets tired, and she's here, she's there, she's everywhere. And coming into the ball game, it was just like, man, we can't let both of them beat us. One is probably going to have a night, and whether it's Britton or whether it's Essex, you can't keep everybody from scoring, but at the same time, you want to make it difficult. And so Essex had a night. She had a big night. She had a real big night. But, being able to limit Britton and McCarty and some of their other players that averaged double figures was huge for us.
Let's take a look at the highlights. Tusculum versus Newberry. It's the 3rd game, and it's the second game in 3 days. So you were wondering kind of how this team would respond. A little bit sluggish, although we got off to the very good start, hit the 3 to start the game. But again, your defense caused them some problems, and Kendrea Duke has been a problem for a lot of teams this season. So yes, I say it was a little bit sluggish, but it was after the first knockout punch here. After this Mia Long 3-pointer goes in, then Meg Essex, they try. You don't even see her in the game right now. They do bring her back in. And once she comes back in, she kind of solidifies things after this 10-point lead. Yeah.
They went to her early. They went to her often. And, you see just, her ability to run the floor, really caused our bigs to have to, grind it out. She hits a fall-away jumper right there. That's really good defense by Jazz Williams, and she knocks that down. So, they had their hands full, and but credit to them. I think the combination between KD and Jazz were able to offset some of her output, and that's been the thing in the past is that we've never had a post player to really offset what Essex was ever able to do. And even last year when I think Kendrea Duke had 17 in that ball game, she was able to off-put some of that offset, and then it becomes who else is making plays for your team. Credit to our kids defensively. They were about as locked in as you can be. To only give up 50-some to that team, really impressive.
All right, it's a team that started out 15-point lead. Newberry started 1 for 7 for the game. You're forcing turnovers, getting buckets in transition, slowing it down, putting up some pressure. And you look at the score right now, it's a 4-point game, and you just outplayed them.
Yeah. I felt like our effort was there. I felt like we talk about those details. It wasn't necessarily details. It was little things. In baseball, they say the keys are throwing and catching. In basketball, a lot of times it's passing and catching. And had a couple deflections that I felt like we could have just flat out caught. And we knocked them out of bounds, and things that would have led to layups. Obviously, we missed a lot of shots around the paint, and then obviously second half, as you see, we start making these shots around the paint. I felt like that was the big difference in the ball game. In the first half, we missed 13 layups, which is an ungodly amount of layups. Putting pressure on the paint like we always do, but in the second half, we made those shots around the bucket, and we were able to get it open.
You see the Pioneers start to pull away. Jayla Arnwine, career best in this game. Hit some clutch threes. I mean, Newberry was never out of it. They shot for such a high percentage. There's 2 things that we're going to talk about. First, Jayla Arnwine hitting the baseline 3 that was there. You guys never trailed in this game.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of shots by her, Callie Patterson, that first half, but then they made that run in the second half, and Arnwine was solid. She didn't get to show that on Saturday. She was the one that was in foul trouble and didn't get to stay on the floor. She showed why she's the intangible for this team. She's one of the hardest workers on this team. She'll find a way to get an open shot.
Yes. You know what? Jayla is a kid that she came to us as a walk-on, and the thing that when I first saw her, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was watching her at the Battle of the Borough AAU tournament, and I'm watching another kid, and I'm watching her. I'm like, this kid plays really hard. Like, she just plays so hard. And the thing with Jayla is that not only does she play hard, like, she embodies everything that we want our program to be about. She's a hard worker. Like, she cares. Like, when she loses a game, she's not happy. Yeah. You know, she's a phenomenal teammate, very enthusiastic. And so, you know, you have games where Wingate was tough for her because she's in foul trouble and she's trying so hard. And sometimes, you know, we got to put that aggression, use it smartly. But at the same time, she's a sophomore. She came here as a walk-on, and now she's starting for us. And she's starting for one of the top teams in the region. Was coming off the bench early, but she was ready for her opportunity when it came. And so she's like a living testament of what we preach to our kids all the time, is that you got to stay the course, never know when your opportunity is going to come. But then you have a game like Wingate, then you have a game like Newberry where she steps in huge for us. You know, I thought she was more patient with her shot selection, didn't rush hardly anything, stayed in the gym, got up shots day before yesterday to prepare for Newberry, stepped into some shots and flat out knocked them down. When we needed to create some separation there, seemed like her or Callie were there knocking down shots for us.
Knocked him down. There's no question about that offensively, but here defensively, we're press you, and you get one player back and you decide we're going to do it for 40 minutes.
Absolutely.
I would have not ever thought that you would have turned over Shelby Britton 6 times alone. She created 6 turnovers. Did not have she had as many turnovers as she had points in the contest. Here's a player that's averaging 17 points a game. They bring in 3, averaging double figures. They're good. This is a good Newberry basketball team that's on a little bit of a slide right now, dropping 4 straight. But the fact was, you forced them into 29 turnovers and scored a bunch of points off that in transition.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the reasons that, you know, to play this style, you just have to commit to it and do it full time. I think the difference, honestly, is that last year, you know, our kids weren't really able to make adjustments in the press. We did it one way, and you know, you saw a ton of different looks in it, but we did it one way. And I think the thing that our kids are understanding now, and even me as a coach, being able to adjust in ball games and switch the press and adjust it and tweak things in the middle of a ball game has really helped us. I think that's why our numbers are better as a pressing team this year compared to last year. I think that's why our deflections are higher this year. You know, and I think it's why our overall defense is better as well, because we get matched up better out of it. And so, you know, I think, you know, our team's ability to adjust yesterday was really big. Last year, I remember we going to Newberry, and they ran kind of the same press-o, and we weren't able to press them at all. And they kicked our butt. Last game of regular season last year, they kicked our butt. And our kids were able to adjust yesterday and kind of switch the press up a little bit. And it really helped us because it allowed us to just continue to apply pressure throughout the ball game. And so, you know, to turn them over that many times led to a lot of easy points for us, a lot of, you know, fast break layups and stuff like that. And, you know, anytime you take a guard like Britton, you just want to make her work. You know, you try to make fatigue a factor, conditioning a factor, excuse me. And we just tried to put a lot of pressure on her.
And did. And the Pioneers get the big win. I haven't had a double-digit win against the Newberry Wolves. 2011, 2010 comes to mind. So it's been a while. Newberry team that has played well against this Tusculum team. But Tusculum needing one on a Monday afternoon when they go down yet another player late in the contest, gain some separation, get their 12th win of the year. Send Newberry to their 4th consecutive loss now on the season. Pioneers, another big week coming up. We'll talk about that briefly when we return right after this with more of your Pioneer Basketball Show.
Jason was an ordinary man with an insatiable appetite until he got a call that changed everything.
Applebee's All You Can Eat is back with shrimp.
This January, get ready to order. Starring riblets, tenders, and introducing shrimp.
Welcome back into the Pioneer Basketball Show with Pioneer Basketball coach Devan Carter. So the Pioneers, big week last week, and I think you proved we're just, somewhat that close. Attention to detail just a little bit more, and games go a little bit our way. Now, rivalry games, really, and a game in which we didn't play very well earlier in the year. So we've got LMU kind of to wrap up the first half of the South Atlantic Conference season, get a chance to see them at Harrogate this week, and then Catawba gets a chance to come in here, and I think that's redemption Saturday for a Pioneer basketball team. Now, we may be down yet another player, and we'll just see, but I think it's next man up mentality. We'll go that way, but what has to be key for this team this week with two different opponents in LMU and Catawba?
Yeah, the thing with LMU is that, they do, I think they're number one in the league in three-point percentage shooting, and they're number one in the league in offensive rebounding. For us, like you said, the coach in me wants to say we want to out-rebound every opponent by 10. But at the same time, with kind of how we are and our size and everything, we want things to be even on the glass. If we keep things even on the glass, then I feel like our pressure will be the difference in the ball game. But at the same time, they have two really, really good guards. In the Griffin twins, and both of those are high-scoring, fast, quick, athletic guards who are going to put a lot of pressure on you as well defensively. They press, they do some combination presses and stuff like that, but they really probably offensive rebound 50% of their misses. And so we're going to have to do our job on the glass, take care of the basketball, and then obviously going down there, you're going against a team that plays that pack line defense. You're going to have some shots. We're going to want to, step into some rhythm jump shots and, try to force them to play fast as well. Pioneer
team then will welcome Catawba, and this is a team we just didn't play well when we were down there the last time, and I think you were that's as frustrated as I've ever seen you. The radio announcer was pretty frustrated during the game as well. But a team that I think they do such a good job. And in a first-year head coach that comes in, you weren't really sure how that was going to handle, but he was ready.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got that team ready. They're playing well. They're not going to wow you, but they're playing well.
They play extremely hard. And sometimes I think, and this is no disrespect to ADs, I think the cool thing is we want to open up a national search, and what you're doing is really taking resumes. And at the end of the day, when they called and asked for a reference for Terrence Baxter, it's a no-brainer. Your head coach is right down the hall from you.
Yeah.
And so that was a no-brainer hire for Catawba. It's a phenomenal hire. He's going to do a great job. Just like Coach Tencher will do at Newberry. Let's not overthink this thing.
Yeah.
Your head coach is right down the hall. She'll do a phenomenal job, and she is the right one for the job. But the thing Coach Baxter does with Catawba is he gets his kids to play so hard.
Yeah.
Like, they play so hard, and not only that, they take more charges than anybody in our league. And Coach Baxter was like that as a player.
Yeah.
He was a scrappy dude and tough dude, and they take on his personality. So. Two very, they're different, but they're similar at the same time. They play with pace, they play fast. When we went down to Catawba the first time, you're right, was a frustrating outing just for the mere fact of, I felt like we didn't compete in that ball game the way that we should have. And obviously losing Sydney and then losing Torrey in that game, after that ball game, we kind of scratched everything that we did. Not everything, but some things. And then also we had to have a coming to Jesus week. And, and afterwards we were able to roll off 7 straight. I think the kids got the memo after that. And they've been playing hard ever since. And, our main thing is want to protect our home floor. And then anything you steal on the road is a gift. And a very challenging week. We'll go today, prepare for LMU. we'll probably practice for 45 minutes because of bodies and want to keep them off their feet. And but nonetheless, we'll have them prepared at an elite level and get ready to tackle the week. This week will go a long way in determining the end of the year standings. And so, you know, if we want to be an average team, we'll find a way to mess this week up. If we want to be a good team or an elite team, we'll find a way to get it done. So I'm excited.
Pioneers take on LMU and then come home to take on Catawba. That's this week. Wednesday, join us at 6 o'clock on the Pioneer Sports Network radio-wise. You can also watch it through the LMU website, the LMU.net. Do a great job there as well. And also on Saturday, right back on the Pioneers YouTube channel through TusculumPioneers.com, 2 o'clock tip-off time for the Tusculum women on Saturday. For all those involved with the Pioneer Sports Network, behind the scenes like Nick Forsberg and Dom Donnelly and Jim Miller, he's Pioneer coach Devan Carter, and I'm Brian Staten. Until next week, go Pioneers.